Hope at Crafty Hope, and welcome. I was fortunate enough to score one of the Yumi Same 3 packets for June. So, this is a challenge from Tiffany of Southern Gals Design and Michelle of Mickelnay, in which they were doing this for a couple years where they exchanged items each month and they'd have the same 3 items and try to figure out what they were going to do with them. So Michelle provided this month's pack, and look how cute she wrapped it up in that brown bag with the string and the wax seal. And I'm trying to be super careful with all of it in case I want to use any of it. And spoiler, I do use some of it. So um, here in this little baggie are the 3 items. So the first thing that catches my attention is this little bamboo forky thing. I'm gonna guess it's some kind of cocktail pick. Like you would put an olive on or something. I'm not real sure. And then there's this strip from a yearbook that's all a bunch of guys. And then this, which looks, well, it says Dixie Cola, so I'm gonna guess it's a label from a bottle or for a bottle. And so these are the 3 things we have to work with, and they're kind of exciting. And once I revealed them, I kind of sat down for a minute and thought about what I was going to do and decided I wanted to work in my junk journal. This is my junk journal I made as part of the Robin Marie Smith Transitions Workshop. I'll put a link to her classes below. It's a free workshop she has to build a junk journal like that. So I set to work first thing with what I thought was the hardest, which is that little, what I'm going to call a cocktail pick. And I immediately was drawn to the fact that I might be able to make some marks with it. So I grabbed my Black India ink and decided to just go to town. I'm using some paper. Um, I've altered that paper in some way. I'm not real sure. It possibly was in an eco dye or some other kind of dye, but it's just some notebook paper that's got kind of a blue tinge to it. Now, as you see, I'm experimenting with all kinds of different marks with this, seeing how long I can get the ink to stay on the little cocktail fork, and just really kind of playing. So I used that one side that's kind of the more fork side, and then decided to try using the other side, which is the side that I guess you hold. And I was really liking the marks on that. When I slid it like that, at the end of it, it had, I don't know how to explain it, like a little prongs of its own, really. And it was nice and dark, and I was really digging that. So I'm gonna kind of make a pattern over here on top of the other lines I made. The pattern gets off at some point because I found that I could only slide it once while it was wet to get that nice dark mark. So I was trying to alternate the dark with the lighter ones. Anyway, it's not a big deal. But this is the pattern here is the one I end up really liking the most, and what I end up using in this little junk journal project we're gonna get to do. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put that aside and let it dry for a second and pull out that junk journal of mine. Um, there's the other 2 pieces. I'm putting them aside, but I pulled out some different papers I kind of wanted to use in the journal, and I was going to pin down that left side of the page to protect the page behind it. Um, but then it hit me that I really just wanted to extend the page because it would be kind of a neat accent and all of that. So I took a piece of eco dyed paper that's a reproduction Sears and Roebuck catalog that I eco dyed, or a page from a Sears and Roebuck reproduction catalog. Whew. Um, so anyway, I'm just using my Uhu glue stick to get that down and making sure it's secure. And I didn't even bother tearing that, y'all. I just folded it up on the back side because there was nothing else there, and it'll give me an accent later. Okay, so now I'm going to start collaging with my Uhu glue stick. I'm going to speed this up really fast. Sometimes I skip ahead in this, but I wanted to go ahead and let you see me add all of these elements. So yeah, here's where it gets kind of fast. Excuse me. I let's see, I've got a book page that I tore up is a jelly printed deli paper, but I decided against using that. Well, at that moment, it's going to get added, but because it's deli paper, the transparency of it, I wanted it to be one of the last layers I put down. So that is some, I believe it's construction paper that I used some hand carved stamps and bleach and just stamped on that the bleach, which bleached out the paper. It was neat. And of course, there's the paper I made. Um, but the Yumi Same 3, I want to go ahead and explain that a little bit more. So we have these 3 items. Tiffany and Michelle opened it up at the beginning of this year so that you can go on their Etsy shop and buy the packets, the 3 items. It is limited quantities. They only do 10 to 20 of the packets each month in their Etsy shop, which is, I can't think of the name. I think it's something grits bits, something like that. Creative grit bits. I think that's it. Um, but you follow them and they'll have links to that Etsy shop on their videos. I will have below links to Tiffany and Michelle's videos along with videos or Instagram posts to anybody else that is participating that submitted their creations to Tiffany and Michelle. So I want you to check them out because I'm looking forward to seeing what they all do with these fun little packets that Michelle sent out. Okay, so I had been at Goodwill the day I filmed this and had scored several sets of some nice stamps that apparently had never been used. And I really liked this botanical one and this one set. So I decided I'm going to use it, go ahead and play with some of my new stuff. And so I grabbed my stays on and just put that on an acrylic block. It wasn't quite long enough for my stamp, but it's what I had on hand. And I probably could have used my oh, what's that thing? The magnetic stamping board thing. I've got one of those, but I don't want to go across the room and try to pull that out too. So I'm going to stamp this a couple times. The first one didn't come out because my surface wasn't flat. So I'm going to stamp it a couple more times and kind of get, what do you call it? Like a second and third print. I know there's a term for that. I know with the jelly print, it's called a ghost print, but I don't think it's called that when you're stamping. I don't know. I think there's a term. Anyway, so I get those down. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with them, but I knew, well, I kind of did. I knew I wanted to layer these things. That label, that Coke label, I really liked it. I liked it too much. It was precious. I did not want to tear it up. So I'm going to layer it into my journal without altering it in any kind of way. But I'm going to cover it up a little bit and all of that. And I'm letting the red of it kind of lend to this whole page. Now, I decided my background was a little too chaotic and I needed to bring it together a little bit. So, yes, I am covering it up with some gesso. Bits of it peek through. It's going to be fine. It's for me, the layering and the collage and all that is kind of my jumping off point to get me moving to the next thing. And I put too much gesso down there, y'all, so I'm just using a gift card to scrape it back up to so some of that does show through. But yeah, I needed to bring that background kind of together. And that, Jessa always does it for me. It's kind of one of my MOs. I do it all the time. I didn't realize how much I did until somebody said something in one of the comments recently about me using the gesso. Okay. So I'm going to continue the red theme in here, and I've got one of my hand carved stamps, which is just carved onto an eraser. I've got a video on how I do my hand carved stamps. I'll link to that in a card up on your upper right. And I'm using Distress Oxide in, I think it's Candied Apple, because it really matches perfectly that cola label. So I'm working with red, which I don't often do. Actually, in one of Michelle's videos, maybe it could have been her last month, Yumi Same 3, she asked what colors you don't often work with. and I think she was having trouble with green. And it may not have been You Me Same 3. It was one of Michelle's videos, and I realized that red is a color that I don't use a whole lot. I mean, I like red, I just don't use it a ton. So this is like a red page for me. All right, so getting back to what I'm doing here, I took a little piece of a ledger paper just as some kind of contrast to layer in this little stack I'm making after I did my stamps around on my page. And I decide that I need another pop of red in that little stack. So I just took a piece of, it's copy paper, y'all. It was on my desk. I just wanted a piece of plain paper. So I stamped that stamp down a couple times on that copy paper, and then I'm going to cut one of them out just to have another little red accent there, and it kind of carries through the theme of the stamps I put down. Yeah, so that those didn't seem kind of disjointed with the rest of the page. It works into this little stack I'm going to do. And I decided to put some scribbles down just to kind of add a little bit of movement in the background of everything. And here, I told y'all I was going to use something from that pretty packaging. I decided to use that twine that Michelle had included on it. So I'm trying to pull it out from the wax seal because I was fairly sure it had been one continuous um, thing of twine, but it just broke inside that wax seal. So I'm going to use it. First, I'm going to wrap it around like the little tines of that forky thing and tie it off. And well, I say I am. I realized that where the twine broke, it was kind of purpley pink like that wax seal had been. So I kind of cut that off in a bunch of places on that twine because I didn't like that color in with this spread. It just didn't seem to go. So now I'm tying that, um, which I thought was going to be secure, but yeah, I ended up having to glue it later because it slipped off when I went to go take pictures of this spread. So, anyway, so I am you see, I'm trimming off all those edges, trying to get all the purple out. I didn't get it all out because on some of them it was kind of in the middle of the thread, but it's not that noticeable. It was just a me thing. I was being super persnickety about it. And then I was trying to figure out where I wanted to put that little cocktail fork. So I have made my decisions and I'm going to start gluing. And I am just, since all of this really is paper, at least the stack itself, I'm just using my Uhu glue stick to stick it all down. And yeah, so I'm just going to layer it just the way that you saw it. And I end up using, I was going to use some Alien's tacky glue to glue down the tine thingy. I keep calling it something different. The cocktail pick. I was just going to use some Alien's tacky glue for that, but mine was, I don't know, I couldn't get it to come out of the bottle, so I ended up using some E6000 to glue that down, which was way overkill. But I do, when I go to glue the threads onto the tines to get them to stick. It ended up being off camera because I don't know, my camera wasn't rolling when I thought it was. But I do use the tacky glue with a toothpick to glue it then. So just to make that secure. And then I'm trying to think what else I do. There's a couple other steps here, I promise. I'm just being fiddly with everything. Trying to get it just where I want. I decided that since I did add that pop of red up on the like upper left of those gentlemen, I wanted to had that other pop of red kind of on the lower left. So I've got them all down. At least I think I do. I had trouble with that guy on the end. Here comes the E6000. And I'm just putting it down on the lower portion of that and just sticking it where I want it. Yeah, just like that. So then I'm going to, I think I'm going to grab a large print journal. We're going to transition to that because I flipped through a couple pages to find what I wanted. and cut out the words. I found that my mind was made up. I ended up cutting out the I found that and just used the part that says my mind was made up. And yeah, because I'm gonna just tear that, I think. And then finally glue it down. You see me messing around with it. I think the length of it is what got me kind of like, yeah. So, and I'm gonna put it there. I did play with a little bit of craft paper, to try to back it, but I decided that was just too much. It took away from that stack focal over there. So instead, I'm just gonna take my Stabilo and circle that and wet that. And my Stabilo broke. Um, and use a wet paintbrush to get that. I'm also off camera when my camera wasn't recording. I end up circling the guy on the far right as yeah, here I'm showing you. I glued myself with the tacky glue there, and then I also circled that guy with my Stabilo and activated it. And that finished my page. I am going to add some pictures here at the end. I hope you enjoyed this, and make sure you hop over to Tiffany and Michelle and all the rest of the participants. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Keep on crafting on. Bye.